Hey, Dr. Andy, how are you this week?
I'm doing well, Mrs. Sprang. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you. I feel like I should start by saying that my headset is not a style choice, but we both notice that I echo less when I'm wearing it. So,
I agree. It's really upping the quality of this video.
and we're all about quality.
That's right.
So I'm doing it for the quality, not to look like Garth Brooks in 1996. So,
Noted.
yeah. So
Oh,
anyway.
well, it's good to see you. And I was hoping this week we could talk about sort of a shared concern that I've heard from several parents
Hmm.
or families, and just to kind of maybe that we could offer some perspective or some
Hmm.
advice on that. And that concern is that during this time of separation and
Hmm.
quarantine and just sort of different, um,
Hmm.
we've we've seen some changes in our children.
Hmm.
So it could come in the form of like a temper tantrum. Sometimes it seems like, at least with my own, like my older children, like they're not
Hmm.
listening to
Hmm.
me, or I ask them to do something and they just don't do it. Or maybe even, especially with my little one, just the idea of she just wants my attention a lot.
Hmm.
And so I feel like this is probably something that's fairly common. I certainly know it's on the hearts and minds of parents at Montgomery Nursery School. I don't know. What about you? Have you seen that with Bassett?
So absolutely, that's something we're seeing quite a bit of. I think there's a little bit of that every summer where we get into the summer and there's a little bit less structure and a little more freedom, where we see kids testing limits a little bit, maybe not following instructions,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But we've definitely seen quite a bit more of that at Bassett. We're getting a lot of calls from parents who, in addition to it being summer, we're also in a very different time where there are a lot of restrictions. A lot of the fun activities that would be filling time for kids right now are not available. So, families are seeing more tantrums, more non-compliance, and really just more general attention-seeking behavior. So that's something we're seeing quite a bit of. If I'm being honest, that's something I'm probably seeing a little bit of at my house too. So
Sure.
those are things maybe that we should be expecting a little bit, given everything that's going on right now.
Sure. Well, I know, and we've talked about this before, but I feel like one thing that does sort of help if I'm having a child who's having just one of those hard days,
Mm-hmm.
just spending a little bit of quality time together can make a big difference. What are your thoughts on that?
So I completely agree. And that's something that we've really tried to stress at Montgomery Nursery School with the staff, where we've done trainings where we talk about how we can come alongside kids and give them, especially kids that are struggling a little bit of one-on-one attention. But that's something that's even more effective if parents are able to do it at home. And so one thing I was thinking would be cool is kind of the purpose for our conversation today is to ask parents to set aside 10 or 15 minutes each week to play 10 or 15 minutes every day to play with each of their kids. Because we know that that one-on-one playtime with kids can be so valuable. We know that kids, even more than candy or stickers or money or toys, the thing they want most is attention from their parents. And if they can't get good attention, a lot of times kids will act up to get bad attention. So if we are intentional about setting aside that time to just hang out and play with our kids, that can be a really powerful thing. I know for a lot of parents, they're hearing that and they're probably thinking, oh my gosh, I'm spending all day every day with my kids. I'm already spending a lot of time with them. But there's something very different about um, being intentional about setting a date, to set a time each day to play with your kids. For those of us who are married or in relationships, we spend a lot of time with our spouses or our partners, but that's very different from being intentional about setting up a date night
Mhm.
where you're setting aside time to connect. And we want to do the same thing for our kids. We want to set aside time each day to just kind of come alongside them and play.
You know, that you bring up a really good point about that intentionality. I think children know when they have our undivided attention
Yes.
versus having, our divided attention. And I know
Hmm.
for me, I feel like I'm always doing more than one thing at a time.
Hmm.
But if I know that I have a certain
Hmm.
time frame to set aside
Hmm.
to actually play with my kids, I do see
Hmm.
that it goes a long way.
Hmm.
And you're not suggesting this is hours and hours. You're saying a short amount of time, 10 to 15 minutes.
Exactly. It's only 10 to 15 minutes. And it's
Okay.
amazing that just that little bit of time will go such a long way toward making kids feel safe and comfortable and nurtured and loved. It doesn't have to be hours and hours. You can set aside 10 minutes every day, and that should be good for kids.
Okay. Well, I have tried this with my own family,
Hmm.
my own children, and I agree. I do see that it goes a long way.
Hmm.
But
What
I
are
have
some of the
found, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, what are some of the things that you do with your kids for one-on-one time?
Yeah, well, I found that an open-ended play idea
Hmm.
works better than something that has like a right or a wrong answer.
Yeah.
I feel
Hmm.
like kind of things like
Hmm.
playing Legos, building
Hmm.
blocks, magnetiles are huge
Hmm.
at our house. We love those.
Yeah.
I have one daughter who really likes to write, so sometimes we'll just write a silly story together or
Hmm.
do Mad Libs, something like that.
Hmm.
I have another who she's a little older and she
Hmm.
loves to go for a walk. We walk our dog. We have a little loop around the block. It takes about 15
Hmm.
minutes, and I just let her lead the conversation.
Hmm.
For my
That let
youngest, oh, go
that
ahead.
letting her lead the conversation is great. To let kids not only pick what you're doing, but also pick what you talk about.
Yeah, and it's
Mhm.
often goes in a direction I wouldn't have expected.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun. For my littlest, she really is in an
Hmm.
imagination phase right
Hmm.
now. So as
Hmm.
painful as that can be sometimes, we
Yeah.
we do, the playing pretend or make believe with dolls or
Hmm.
princesses or dinosaurs or whatever it
Hmm.
is that day. Or we do a lot with like drawing or painting, Play-Doh,
Hmm.
just kind of open-ended things that allow us to talk while we play.
Yeah. Those all sound like a lot of fun. We do a lot of similar stuff at our house. Construction toys are really big.
Mhm.
So we love Legos and Magnetiles. Um, dog walks are also good. As the weather's been nice, I've found a really fun one-on-one activity are short bike rides. Just
Mhm.
individual one-on-one bike rides with each kid. Especially Juliet, my youngest, loves a little bike ride together. Um, my oldest is really into playing guitar, so lately we've been trying to write a song, and I like to let her take the lead on that. I don't know that we're writing a good song, but it's something that she can kind of take the lead on and has been pretty fun.
That's really cool.
Hmm. So I was wondering if we could go over maybe a couple talking points, a couple bullet points for parents to have in the back of their head while we are playing.
Sure.
So I think one really important thing to remember that I have to remind myself is that when we are playing and when we have this one-on-one time, we want to make sure that we're focusing on our child in that moment. So that means we're not on our phone.
Mhm.
We're not also trying to do a task around the house. Um, Having one-to-one time playing with your child while you're also trying to fold laundry or cook dinner or something like that probably isn't giving them their full attention. Another thing I found is pretty helpful is to let your child pick the activity and then let them take the lead in doing it. Um, I think play is more fun for kids when they can decide what it is rather than us saying, "Hey, we're going to play Legos now," to give them that option.
And
Um,
I think going along with that, my
mhm.
my inclination is to pepper them with questions. What are you
So I think
doing?
that's the
What are
adult
you doing?
inclination. Yeah. What
Yeah.
is that?
And just to sort of give
Hmm.
myself the freedom to come alongside them is a
Yeah.
little different than me trying to direct what
Hmm.
they do. And that can be hard, but it's only 10 minutes, right?
It's really hard. I think as adults, we're kind of taught that to be a good conversationalist, we want to ask questions and then listen to how people respond. And when we do that, we don't realize how much we pepper our kids with questions. How was school? Who did you play with? Do you have homework? What did you do? What did you do on recess? What are you going to do now? And some questions are fine, but when we're coming alongside kids, it's good to just dial back on the questions and not ask about everything they're doing, just to follow their lead. I think another really good thing to do while we're playing is look for every opportunity we can to praise our kids. Um, Kids feel good when we give them compliments, when we praise them. So to look for anything we can compliment them on, and to do that during that one-on-one time is a really powerful thing for kids.
Oh, I totally agree, especially if it's really specific. So like,
Hmm.
oh gosh, I really love
Yeah.
that dog you drew. That's so
Yeah.
realistic. Or wow,
Yeah.
I never thought about having a purple dragon. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
It does make a big difference, and it makes them feel good about what they're doing.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Praise is good. I don't think that'll be a grand revelation to anybody listening.
No,
But looking for opportunities to praise when we can is a really good thing.
for sure. So just to kind of summarize, what we're
Hmm.
asking parents to do is just to devote 10 to 15 minutes
Hmm.
per day
Hmm.
per child,
Hmm.
and just engage in some intentional quality time together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think what parents will find, so it's important to remember that what we're talking about, it's not therapy, it's not an intervention. Some of the things we've talked about, those bullet points, are things that are drawn from a lot of different behavioral interventions for kids. But what we're doing is not therapy. What we're doing is very foundational relationship enhancement with kids. And I think what parents will find is after a couple weeks of having pretty consistent one-on-one play, they're going to notice that some of the extra emotions and behaviors that are bubbling out of their kids and leading to tantrums or noncompliance or just kind of attention-seeking behavior, those are going to decrease a little bit. It's not going to be overnight. I always like to joke with parents that you're not going to do this for 2 days and then suddenly your child is bowing and doffing their cap and speaking with a British accent. So it'll be a slow cumulative effect where kids slowly start to feel more comfortable in their skin, and their behavior improves. And I think the other cool thing that happens is it really strengthens that parent-child relationship. Kids really like spending time with their parents, and when they really like spending time with their parents, they will want to have good behavior that their parents like.
No, I think you bring up a good point. And I think it is important for us to remember that this is a hard time. Kids have been
Hmm.
away from their normal routine, their friends, their support systems for a
Hmm.
while, and they might need just a little bit extra.
Yeah.
Dr. Andy, like, what if I do all of this and I set aside 10 minutes every day
Hmm.
and we do this and I just still feel like something's not right, or I'm not getting the outcome that I was hoping for? Then what?
So, so that will happen for some families. There are a lot of families where just ramping up a little individual time will help kids feel comfortable in their skin. But if kids have gotten themselves into a pattern or a routine where they're constantly testing limits or not following instructions or having other behavior problems,
Mhm.
that's usually a clue for us that you might want to seek out a little extra support. And so I would encourage them to either email you or to email me here at Bassett and maybe talk about taking the next step to maybe work with a therapist to help families support kids a little more.
Yeah, I think it's good. We've been away from our community for so long. I think it's just a good
Mhm.
reminder that we are still here and that
Yeah.
we're still able to help and willing to help, and we're just here for you.
Hmm.
So, well, I'm excited to set aside some quality time with my kids.
Yeah. I think this will be a fun thing.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
thanks, Dr. Andy. It was great to see you.
It was great to see you. I'm looking forward to chatting again next Friday.
All right. Sounds good.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.